You ever upload a video to YouTube and you think, this is it, this is going to be the one, and nothing happens? Yeah, me too. Every single one of them. After posting consistently for 4 months, not seeing any growth, I came to a point where I thought, clearly I'm not doing something right here. I was tired of watching other channels grow way faster while I was stuck in place, wondering what they knew that I didn't. But then I had this moment, a realization that totally changed how I'm approaching YouTube. And no, it wasn't some hack about thumbnails or posting schedules. It was actually a lot simpler, almost embarrassingly simple. I wish I had learned this months ago. So here's what happened. After months of basically zero growth, I got frustrated enough that I decided to make a video just openly talking about how stuck I felt. I was honest, I admitted that I didn't have all the answers, that I was tired of pretending I knew what I was doing, and that I was finally ready to just reset. The video felt good, like really good, because for the first time I wasn't trying to pretend that I had it all figured out. Instead, I was just being myself and sharing the truth about where I was in this YouTube journey. But honestly, even after posting that, I still didn't have a clear answer about what I was actually going to do moving forward. I just knew something had to change, so I started looking around for ideas, which is how I stumbled across Daryl Eves' book. And seriously, this book just blew my mind. I picked it up on a whim, hoping maybe there'd be something in there that's new and that it was practical. And there was, but it wasn't another hack or trick or anything complicated. It was just straightforward logic about what makes a video really good and why YouTube decides to push it out to people. And what I realized is this is actually what I had been missing. So here's the plan. I want to share exactly what clicked for me and how it changed my whole outlook. Again, not claiming to have cracked some secret code, but it's the first time that I really felt like, hey, maybe I figured something out here. And if you're feeling stuck too, this might resonate with you as much as it did for me. All right, let's jump into exactly what that was. So here's what happened. I made that video, I put it out there, and honestly, I felt like a weight had been lifted off my shoulders for the first time in months. And I wasn't trying to figure it all out on my own or act like I had some kind of master plan. But after posting it, I started to wonder, now what? Like, I'd admitted I wasn't sure what direction to take, so what was my next step? And that's exactly when I found Daryl Eves' book. And if you've never heard of him, he's basically one of the biggest YouTube strategists out there. And right away, something he said caught my attention. The reason your videos aren't getting views isn't because YouTube hates you or because the camera isn't good enough. It's simpler. And honestly, it's a little bit tougher than that. He basically said, look, if your videos aren't growing, it's because they're not good enough yet. They're just not grabbing people's attention or holding it. And I remember sitting there like, I've heard this before, but for some reason it never really sunk in until now. I'd spent months trying tips from small channel gurus, the ones that are talking about perfecting your thumbnails and using certain titles and posting every Tuesday at noon, but none of that was actually fixing the issue. It was all surface level stuff. And yes, thumbnails and titles are important, but what mattered more was if people were actually enjoying my content. So I took a deep breath, I opened up my analytics, which honestly I used to avoid because seeing viewers drop off after 45 seconds isn't exactly fun. And this time, instead of looking away, I forced myself to see what was really happening. And what I saw was pretty clear. People just weren't sticking around. They clicked, stayed a minute or two, and then they left. And Daryl's words started echoing again. It's about retention. If viewers aren't watching your videos all the way through, YouTube won't push them out. And it's that simple. And that's when I had that aha moment. Maybe the real problem wasn't the algorithm or SEO or my thumbnails. Maybe the real issue was simpler. The thing I needed to focus on was finding out why people were leaving and trying to fix that for the next video. Now realizing this wasn't exactly fun, but once I accepted it, I felt like I finally knew what to do next. It was like finally knowing what direction that I needed to move in. And let me share exactly what I learned and what I started noticing when I took a closer look at my own videos. So here's exactly how it played out for me. After I realized that retention was the key, that the real issue was people clicking off my videos way too quickly, I went back into my analytics to see if that was true. And yeah, it definitely was. Honestly, going into analytics is kind of intimidating. If you're anything like me, those graphs and charts are overwhelming. And it's easy just to avoid looking at them all together. But this time I knew I had to. And when I did, the data hit me pretty hard. Every single video I had was showing the same exact pattern. I'd start with a few views, probably people clicking in and clicking out because the titles were interesting, but around the 1 minute mark, that's when most people were leaving. And I realized that this is exactly what Daryl was talking about. He basically said if you don't hold people's attention, YouTube stops recommending your videos. Because to YouTube, it's pretty simple math. If viewers stick around, your video must be good. If they don't, YouTube figures it's not worth promoting. And it's like YouTube's way of telling you, hey, nice try, but it's just not working. It's kind of harsh when you think about it. Like, thanks YouTube, I appreciate it. But honestly, this was exactly the kind of wake-up call that I needed. For months, I'd been obsessing over things like thumbnails and titles and upload times, and yeah, those matter for getting people to click in, but what really hit me was that retention is what actually determines if a video succeeds. And my analytics were showing me the truth. People were clicking in, but they weren't staying. And that's what I need to fix. And here's the thing, there's no shortcut for fixing this. I can't just flip a switch and suddenly have videos that people love to watch. It's something I know that I'll have to work on over time and gradually adjust. But just realizing it felt massive. It felt like a breakthrough, like I finally knew exactly where to put my energy. So what I decided to actually do about it is to get into that next part of it, which is honestly changing everything about how I'm approaching it and everything about YouTube from here on out. Now, before you think I've got this completely figured out, let me stop you right there. I definitely don't. Honestly, realizing this was just the first step, but here's why it matters so much to me. This was the first time I felt like I wasn't just guessing. I wasn't just blindly following the same old YouTube advice that's everywhere. See, every small channel guru tells you the same thing. Better thumbnails, better titles, post consistently. And a lot of that's important, but nobody ever talks about the uncomfortable truth. The real reason most small channels like mine aren't growing. And it makes sense why they don't, because it's not exactly fun or exciting to admit your videos just aren't good enough. And I know it wasn't, for me, but once I got past the sting of that realization, I felt this huge sense of relief because suddenly the confusion was gone. I knew exactly what needed to change. And maybe you're like me and you've spent hours working hard on your videos, feeling confused or disappointed, and honestly kind of discouraged when they don't perform. And I've been there, and it's tough to admit that. that when you've poured your heart into something and it's just not hitting the mark. But once you know what the problem actually is, you can finally start to fix it and you don't feel stuck anymore. And that was huge for me. Even though I don't have all the answers yet, just having a direction, a clear thing to improve is incredibly motivating. And what else is crazy is that I looked around at all the small channel advice that I've been following and listening to, and nobody's talking about this. It's almost like this one key insight, this idea of looking honestly at your retention and your analytics. It's hidden in plain sight, like the best kept secret that nobody bothers mentioning. So I started thinking maybe that's why so many small channels get stuck, because we're all chasing quick fixes we're missing the most obvious solution, making videos that people actually want to keep watching. And I'm still figuring all this out myself. I can't fix it overnight, and there's definitely no magic button. But this clarity I have now, knowing exactly what to focus on, is honestly, it's exciting. It's like finally having a compass after months of wandering around lost. And if you're feeling stuck or frustrated too, I hope this resonates with you, because the truth is that you're probably a lot closer to figuring it out than you think. And you just might need to look a little deeper, even if it's uncomfortable. Now let's talk about how quickly and exactly how I'm planning to use this insight moving forward. Because knowing the problem is great, but how do you actually fix it? And here's what I'm thinking. So here's where I'm at right now. I finally feel like I have a clear direction. This realization isn't something that I can just instantly fix, but it's something I can start working on today. Honestly, that feels good. It feels like I finally know exactly what to focus on, even if it's not going to be instant or easy. And I really wish I had found this book 5 months ago, because I probably would have saved myself a ton of frustration. But the truth is, sometimes you have to struggle first to realize what actually matters. Maybe you're exactly where I was. You're stuck, frustrated, wondering what's missing. And if that's you, hopefully what I shared today gives you at least a little bit of clarity. And like I said, I'm not promising overnight results, and this isn't about quick hacks. It's about finally knowing what to improve and then just steadily improving it. For me, that means paying attention to my analytics, watching where people lose interest, and actually using that feedback to get better. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. And I'm actually pretty excited about it, because it means my next videos aren't just random guesses. They'll be real experiments based on real information. And there's no more guessing games. So if you're on this YouTube journey and you're just trying to figure things out like I am, let me know in the comments, and I'd love to hear your thoughts about it. And if you're curious to see how this plays out, stick around for the next video. I'm excited to keep figuring this out, and I'd love to have you along for the ride. So for now, I'll just say thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.